North Korean refugees and their children reach safety and freedom through a modern-day underground railroad. This is a 3,000-mile journey, which is the distance from New York to LA. We also help build the capacity of our North Korean friends so that they can become agents of change on the issue. We do changing the narrative efforts, so we create spaces like this to amplify North Korean stories, to tell the world that Kim Jong-un and nuclear weapons is not the most interesting thing about North Korea. And we also have a research and development arm, and we find ways to increase access to information and technology for the North Korean people inside the country. So today, we have a very unique opportunity to hear from 4 agents of change. So Harry, Nikki, Noah, and Hannah, they have chosen to be a part of the Advocacy Fellows program. This program trains young North Koreans to become advocates, analysts, and storytellers on the issue. And I'm sure many of you know that the North Korean regime has a very firm grip on information inside the country. So no foreign media can come in, foreign cell phones are out of the picture, and even foreign radio. If you're caught even hearing information from the outside world, you could be sent to a political prison camp. So they control the information inside the country, but they also try to control the information outside the country. We have our North Korean friends. They have received, we know of people who have received death threats for sharing their story with the outside world and revealing what life is like inside the country. So when a North Korean person decides to share their story with the world, it is one of the most radical things they can do. So I am very excited to introduce the 4 fellows to you. They've been traveling all over the States. This week alone, they were in New York and in Boston, and now they're here in Champaign, and then tonight we're actually going up to Chicago. They've spent the past 2 days here in Champaign, and I think, you like it? Yes, okay. So up first we have Noah. Noah is from Yanggangdo. Yanggangdo is known for producing a lot of corn, which is actually very similar to us here in Champaign. And Noah loves corn. He actually ate 7 ears the other night, and the only reason why he stopped after dinner was because there was no more corn. So, please welcome Noah.
Thank you so much. No, I'm not going to. My story is my mom and our family story. Do you know what it would feel like to not be able to breathe? Can you imagine the feeling of suffocation and being at the brink of death? When my father stabbed my mother in the lungs, that's how she felt. She couldn't breathe. She had to rely on an oxygen tank for the next in order to breathe. My father was an alcoholic, and he beat my mother, my sister, and me day after day. North Korea laws didn't protect us from him. There was no one to save us. No police, no law, no regime. No one brought my father to justice or helped my mother. In North Korea, it felt like the lives of women and children were as insignificant as insects. So my mother, who barely came back from the brink of death, protected us instead. She divorced my father, and we left our beloved hometown to go live in another remote city. Despite doing everything we could to escape our father's sorrow, our lives still remained difficult and destitute. Because North Korea is a patriarchal society, families like ours are looked down upon and despised. My mother was divorced, my sister and I were fatherless and poor. I wasn't even allowed to go enlist in the military or go to college because of our hostile status in society. My mother endured 8 years of scornful looks and prejudice, but in the end, it became too much to bear. One day, I went to school without having breakfast or packed lunch. When kids were getting ready to eat lunch, I snuck out of the classroom and went to a nearby mountain. I picked up some unripened apricots and satisfied my hunger. When school was over, I went home and opened the rice pot to find something to eat. There was some left porridge and I gulped it down in a second. Later, I found out that my mother had sold her clothes in exchange for their lives. What pained me more than hunger was my helplessness while my mother was selling her belongings one by one. There is no social welfare or food rations to depend on. We wanted to breathe, but it felt like we are suffocating. We had no hope of escaping the extreme poverty and the hunger we face unless we escaped the country. And so we did. We made our way out of North Korea, then China. Then we arrived in South Korea. That was 8 years ago. We were able to overcome our suffocating past thanks to the love and the generosity of others. Today, my mother fought hard to protect her two children in a place with no freedom or human rights, but now works as a school teacher for other refugee children. My sister graduated from nursing school and now works as a full-time ICU nurse. And I'm studying politics at Seoul National University, the most prestigious college in South Korea. I used to be terrified 8 years old who could only rely on his mother for protection. But now it is my turn to protect her and lift up her voice and her story and her struggles so that others will know. There are still so many women and children in North Korea whose voices cannot be heard. Please remember the North Korean people who are still suffocating under the regime. But like my mother, my sister and I, we are strong and will overcome adversity to achieve great things. Thank you for listening.
Alright, if anyone has burning questions, please think about it, keep thinking about it, because we're going to have a Q&A portion at the end. But up next, we're going to have Nikki share. Nikki is from the Onsong area of North Korea, which is the very, very northern part that's very close to Russia, and it's known for being very cold. So, we have Nikki.
I want to ask you the most important question in the world. Who are you? I'm Nikki. I defected from North Korea with my family at the age of 10. The following year, I began attending school for the first time in South Korea. As a new student at the age, you can imagine how many things there were to worry about. Would I fit in? Would I be able to make friends? Would I be able to study well? But the thing that became my biggest worry was that I was from North Korea. One day, my homeroom teacher pulled me into a random classroom and said that it would benefit South Korean students to learn about North Korea. I was faced with a room full of strangers and I was terrified. Everything in front of me went white. At the moment, my identity was decided for me even before I could decide who I wanted to be. To 500 kids in my school, I was different and I was treated differently. Students would make fun of my accent and ask questions about things I didn't even know about. My teacher told me to answer questions no matter how ashamed or uncomfortable they made me feel. I became a spectacle because of something I had no control over, who I was. I felt so isolated and exhausted having to explain my identity to people. At that age, I didn't know I was experiencing discrimination. So I tried to myself everything about me that was North Korean, starting with my accent. And for the next few years, I isolated myself and didn't speak to anyone. But during this time, I began to realize that I had no reason to deny my identity or where I was from. So I decided to start speaking about North Korea more. Unfortunately, it began to feel just like being back in grade school again. Some people didn't know how to react. Others treated my identity like a shameful secret. And some acted like it was my weakness or that I was someone to be pitied. It felt like my whole identity was defined again by how people viewed me. I finally realized that I had to define my own identity, who I was and who I wanted to be, regardless of how others viewed me. Being North Korean is still an important part of who I am, but it isn't entire identity. I'm also a writer and blogger. I'm studying to be a nurse. I love to sing, design emoticons, and collect cute things, and I absolutely hate cilantro. Although I can't always control how others view me, I shouldn't have to hide who I am. Honestly, I'm still sometimes afraid to see people's reaction when I share my background, but I didn't want to hide it any longer. Today, I can stand here and share my story because I'm brave, strong, and resilient. I look forward to the day when every North Korean person can be proud to say, I'm from North Korea. I hope you saw courage in my story. Please join our movement and show your support for North Korean people. Thank you.
Alright, up next we have Hannah. Hannah is from the Hesan area, which is very close to the border of China. So there's a lot of smuggling that goes on between Hesan and China. So here we have Hannah.
Do you remember what life was like when you're 15 years old? Maybe you're stressed over high school, or maybe you're get your driver's license. When I was 15 years old, I was sold to a man in China. He was twice my age. For the first 6 months of captivity, I stayed away from him as much as I could. But in the end, there was nothing to protect. I couldn't protect myself. I was pregnant with his child, and I can accept that fact because it wasn't my choice. I carried my baby in my body for 9 months, and I hope it wasn't true. Then she arrived. My beautiful angel was here, and it all hit me. The pain couldn't take away miracle of a mother's love. And when I give her the same love, I received from my parents. And when I give her the word. But I couldn't do that when I was in China. I had no studies or freedom. I lived in constant anxiety, not knowing when I might be cut and sent back to North Korea. So I escaped with my almost old daughter in my arms, even though it was very hard and dangerous journey. We ran together towards freedom, towards future that guaranteed our safety and hope. There was no human rights, no freedom in my homeland or in China. So I decided to study more and went on to major in Chinese studies in college. While studying the diplomatic relationships between North Korea and China, I started to think about the future of my daughter, who is half North Korean, half Chinese. One day she may ask me who your father is, where he lives, why we aren't with him. She may have questions I'm not ready to answer. I still feel uneducated and unprepared as a mother, but I'm always looking for the way to become better for my daughter. When I was 15, my choice was taken from me. But today, I'm choosing to share my story. So another young North Korean girl doesn't have to experience what I did. Please help me make this possible. Thank you for hearing my story.
So finally, we have Harry. Harry is from Kyushu, and Kyushu is known for taffy, or yup, if anyone knows what yup is. But here we have Harry.
Growing up, I was an ordinary boy. I liked going on adventures, exploring mountains every day, and going to river to swim, fish, and collect stones. I would try to eat anything that looked like a fruit. If I got sick, even if I got sick, my mom would get mad at me, but still, my days were happy. I remember one time, my friends and I planned an adventure together. We each packed something to eat, then snuck onto the train, then that transport to core. But we ended up covered in core dust, but it was so much fun. It was my sweetest memory of North Korea. But in 2013, my mom had to leave North Korea suddenly, so we escaped from our home country. I never got to see my friends again, and I could never return to the mountains or river with them. So as a 13-year-old boy, the change was too much to bear. When I first came to South Korea, I was so lonely, unhappy, and scared. I closed my mind and didn't talk to other people. It felt like we had nothing in common and no one could understand what I was going through. So I spent all of middle school in isolation, and the world shrunk around me. As I began high school, I realized I didn't want to be alone again. So I tried to get to know my classmates. It wasn't easy, but eventually I met friends. Slowly but surely, my world began to widen. I found people I could trust, friends that I could share all of my secrets with, except for one, the fact that I was North Korean. I knew it was time for me to be myself, to break down the walls
I had built around my heart. But I didn't have to do it alone either. My friends were there, offering encouragement the whole way. When I told some of them, they said exactly what I wanted to hear. I don't care, I'm your friend, and nothing is going to change. It was their support that gave me the strength to venture out again. When I stood in front of my entire class and told them where I was from, they said, where I was from, the classroom became silent, but I wasn't afraid because I wasn't alone. My friends gave me the strength to speak out and be myself. Their support allowed me to do something that I've never imagined doing on my own. It's the same support that the North Korean people need from us. Alone, we may feel our world is small, that no one will care or listen to what we have to say. But even if there's just one person or a few people who will lift us up, it can give us hope and courage to share our voice, and to have confidence in our identities. Although we are all born in North Korea, we come from very different backgrounds, families, experience, and perspectives. But all our stories are significant and should be shared with the world. Because sometimes it feels like the world is not paying attention to the voices of North Korean people. The voices of people who long for the day to return to their homeland and reunite with their loved ones. You may be wondering what you can do to support North Korean people. Please share our stories with others. Share your experience today on social media. Mobilize your network to bring more support for North Korean people inside and outside North Korea. Think of ways to help them and support the organizations that work with them. Send letters to your members of Congress to bring up the North Korean issues. Learn and study more so you can be an ally or advocate for the North Korean people on the world stage. Just like the support and encouragement of my friend changed everything for me, your support and encouragement might mean the world to someone. Thank you.